14th. We have a big agenda today.
Ms. Alvarez, is
Yes.
Mr. Zeichner, he's not coming for this one,
No,
right?
because there's
The quorum. Okay.
we're a
Right. Sorry.
9.
I was going to ask if he was here, and then I realized as I was speaking, I apologize. Go ahead.
Okay. All right. So I see we have Mr. Cordero and Zach Moraldo as well.
Yeah, Mr. Meralda is listening in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. All right. So I want to start with the Regulation 5440 because we have to move this forward, correct, Dr. Lehman? At the last board meeting, we decided to table it because we still had to discuss the National Honor Society. There was some pushback from the recommendations, so it came back to committee. However, in order to make sure that the report cards and the grading is up to speed for September, we're deciding to move it for a second read, and leave it as it was prior to any changes being done, correct?
So actually, I think it has to go back to a first read because we're making substantive changes between the last read and this one. So it'll be first read, but
Okay.
the changes we're moving forward with are the honor roll changes that everybody was good with.
Okay.
We're reverting all of the honor society piece. We're reverting that back to its original pre-edits. So basically, this policy is going to move forward with the practice and now policy aligned changes for honor roll for both elementary, middle, and high school. And then what we're going to do is we'll bring back NHS changes once middle school and high school. And high school, is kind of taking a look at what they had, but we're also going to bring the middle school and kind of sync them two pieces together. So August and September will be read 1 and 2. So then all the honor roll stuff will be good to go after September. And then we'll bring back the honor society piece at a later date. We're probably targeting more like October, which would then make changes to just the honor society side of things. Does that make sense?
Yeah. But how
Yeah.
does that affect the students this year that
So any honor society, we're going to delay it one more year. So we'll make the changes. Anybody coming in honor society this year, nothing changes. Any changes we did with honor society would go into effect for the following freshman class. So right now, anybody coming in is going to be under the original guidelines.
All right, got it.
We just think that's fair for both middle school and high school. That way, anybody walking in the building now, everything is what it's always has been. And anything we change this year will be in effect for a future class.
All right, sounds good. And then
go
ahead.
And the good thing is we'll have everything squared away by the second read, which is September, for really what we put, aligning the practice and the policy with honor roll and things.
Okay, did you have a question, Ms. Ratner?
I did. We can ask Mr. Weiss about this. I was watching I watched some of our local, like our surrounding communities board meetings. And something that I actually heard last week at one of the meetings was that, and this was from their board attorney, that only policies require 2 reads, and that regulations do not, which is something I had never heard before. I found it interesting though, especially if there's times when we need or want a regulation to, go ahead. I just, thought it might be a good idea for us to get that information if there's a time when, we feel like we need that.
Yeah, I'll touch base with him. I think there are cases when things can go through a 1 read, even a policy. I don't remember the exact verbiage of what it's called, whether it's an expedited or emergency or some
Right.
sort of kind of tweak to it. But I'll check. Our practice has consistently been we're doing the 2 reads on both. But I'll sync up with him. I mean, even with this one, honor roll and things kicks in towards the end of a marking period trimester. So even a September 2nd read, we'd still be good to go in terms of not having to, having things in place before they actually had to get printed and things. So.
Okay.
That's good.
It was just a little bit confusing for me because I thought we had approved the principals list and the honor roll and all that already for it now to go back to a first read.
It's all been kind of grouped together in that one document, so it's kind of been
Got it.
stalled. So Yeah, that's why, and because I think it's embedded in that, and again, we can talk about whether regulation needs one read or two, but because it's all grouped in that one document, kind of got, grouped in with that change. So,
Right. I
Okay,
appreciate
and
you all
then
doing that.
over the summer, like over the last few weeks, we got a new policy alert, number 235. So we're going to try to get through that as quickly as possible. Really, most of it is, and I'll read, from the Strauss Esme alert. This helps us understand why these are happening. So, chapter A, it says the entire chapter NJAC 6A23A, Fiscal Accountability, Efficiency, and Budgeting Procedures, was revised and adopted by the State Board of Education. These revisions affect many policies and regulations. Therefore, over the course of the next few policy alerts, more are coming, other than the ones we just got. Strauss Esme will provide revised policy and regulation guides that need to be updated due to these revisions. So along those lines, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 8 policies affected by this. There's one that I highlighted, which I think we should start with because we have to make choices on it. And that's policy 0174, legal services. Let me just pull it up here. And then we'll see what the administration is recommending. 0174. All right. No, why did I highlight that one? It was 0173. Yeah, here we go.
0174 does has choices.
0174, I
Yep.
see it. It's a mandated policy. It says, in accordance with NJC 6823A, the Board of Education adopts this policy and strategizes to minimize the cost of legal services. So it says the board authorizes a superintendent of schools and a designated contact person, and then we're given choices. It could be the superintendent of schools designee, school business administrator, board secretary, board president, or other.
So from a district perspective, we have all three of those as the current policy. And the superintendent schools designee,
right.
What I would read into that is, if we're dealing with a situation and a specific administrator is involved in something, I could give them, or the superintendent could give them, acknowledgement or permission to engage with the board attorney themselves.
Correct.
Whether it's a school-based issue at one of the buildings, or something with human resources, or whatever it is. So I think those three, just to keep it the same as it was before, I think that is I don't see a reason to necessarily make any substantial revisions. I think selecting those three would be your kind of foundation, but it does give you the ability to broaden it if you need to. Because I think the essence of this is making sure anyone in the entire chain of command doesn't have carte blanche access to picking up the phone and getting a 15-minute charge for calling. There is a process in place to kind of get a filter right before anything goes to the board attorney where it costs money.
Okay, so I guess I misunderstood this. I thought we can only pick now one person, and then we would have to change our current policy, which allows 3 points of contact. Yep. But you're saying we can maintain those 3.
Yep, because it's person, and then the S is in parentheses next to it. So parentheses. So I still think those 3 as a good basis, right? Board secretary, superintendent's designee, right? So in the moment, whoever needs to talk, and then board president as the go-to from the board piece, which would then, kind of filter off for access from there.
Okay, and then there's some things that were crossed off, slashed off, and then there was something here that I saw about keeping a log. We've been doing that. All written requests for legal advice and logs of legal counsel contact shall be forwarded to the designated contact person, who shall be responsible for the bills and compare them to the contact logs. I'm assuming Ms. Allen does that, correct?
So yeah, Miss Allen receives the bills
Mm-hmm.
from the board attorney, and anytime we usually make a call and stuff, that's the kind of thing I usually put things in my calendar, because we schedule times, right? So
Mm-hmm.
our log is kind of embedded in our calendar and scheduling stuff. So yeah, I mean that's the piece that we look at, and we always look at those bills. We actually talk about it in finance now too, right? We look at all the individual breakouts of calls and things like that.
Okay. And then the other part that I saw, and I wanted to ask, in the event the school district's legal costs exceed 130% of the statewide average per student, the procedures established below shall be implemented.
Mhm.
And there really hasn't been much changes to those procedures either.
Yep.
So we're
So,
good to go on that one. Okay.
just so for clarification,
Mm-hmm.
because what I saw was if it exceeds the 130% of the contracted costs, that
Per
we then have
student, yeah,
per
per
right,
pupil.
well, the statewide average person, if we exceed 130% of that, then we need to approve like an additional amount that the administration would recommend. Like it says, it becomes pursuant to NJAC, et cetera, will annually establish a maximum dollar limit. And if we exceed that maximum for legal services, the superintendent has to recommend an increase to the maximum dollar limit. Have we never reached it before that? I just don't know, or has this not been a practice
I'm not
that we
aware
had
that
to
we've reached
follow?
that threshold. I'm not aware that we've ever reached that threshold, at least when we've been around
Okay.
in these seats. I can talk to Laura. I mean, we haven't seen any action through the board and even previous superintendents
Mm-hmm.
for decades, right? For years. So
Right.
I don't know how extreme that 130% of the statewide average
Right.
is. That could be a pretty high number that we don't even come
Yeah.
close to. So
Right. I
um,
guess what my thought was, there are districts that have in-house counsel. It's not contracted. And so, and a lot of those are the larger districts that would normally be the ones to spend a significant amount of money on legal services, right? They might also contract certain things, but for us, because, we go out, which is, more common now than the latter, unless you're one of those larger districts. I just wasn't sure if that was new in that administrative code, because I just hadn't seen it before, but.
no, it's not something that's in the revised section. It's already, it's not highlighted or crossed out. So it's something that had kind of been in place already.
Okay.
So
Dr. Lehman, can I ask, if someone calls me and I give them permission to call Mr. Weiss or email him, how do I keep track of that for bills?
yeah, so the logging comes into place when you're under you've already gone over the 130%, right?
Oh, okay. All
So
right, I
that
get it.
they require you to log it. Now, what we do,
Okay,
like I said, what we have here is the
right.
majority of the time we're interacting. It's an appointment on our calendar, right?
Okay, all right.
So
I just
you
want to
know,
make sure I wasn't doing anything wrong, or I should be doing some logging and
nope,
thing like that.
Well, you'll
Okay,
get an invoice then too from the attorney,
yep,
right.
and it gets
Okay,
reviewed every month. But you could also, if you wanted to CC Laura
yep.
on it, maybe she has, keeps track of it as well. You're muted. Okay, so I'm gonna move quickly then to the next one. It's I'm going in order by the printout, the summary page. So policy 0173, duties of public school accountant. This was revised. It's a recommended bylaw. It's just revised to update the language. There was nothing significant done on that one. All right, so then we have 0177, professional services. This is a mandated policy. And just some change in language.
Yep.
I do see it says the board shall establish a maximum dollar limit annually prior to budget preparation for each type of professional service, with appropriate notification to the board if it becomes necessary to exceed the maximum. And change the language. They changed the word legal to professional services, and contracts for legal services shall be was striked, and then now it says in professional services contracts.
It's really just wording
Yeah,
changes.
just
Yeah.
You know,
verbiage.
it's alignment with code. Yep.
And it's mandated. All right, internal controls, policy and regulation 1570. And these are mandated as well. Let's see. So let me pull
I think
these
it's
up.
similar, Ms. Alvarez. I think
Just
like
the language is
yeah,
changing. There's
I
nothing else to
highlighted.
select.
Yeah, I
Okay.
highlighted. They changed the shalls to musts. You
All
know, it's one of
right.
those changes. Yeah.
Any questions on that one? No. And 1620 is also language updates, correct?
Yep.
Administrative employment contracts, and that's regarding the role of the executive county superintendent in reviewing employment contracts for the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and school business administrators.
Yep.
So again, it was just language updated on that one as well. The next one is mandated policy and regulation 6111. So this applies to SEMI, which is something under special education. It's how we get reimbursed for speech therapy, any therapeutic services that are in school, evaluations. It used to be IEP meetings. That was changed recently. So now you can only bill for evaluations, correct, Dr. Lehman?
Yes. Yep. And we spoke a little bit about the semi
Yes.
reimbursement when we went through the budgeting process, because our semi reimbursements, because of the changes, are going to be
Yeah.
lower than they have been in previous years.
And like you had mentioned that you, the administration was reviewing that, even if it was worth it to continue to participate in SEMI based on these changes.
Yeah, and we are required to participate unless we submit for a waiver, right?
Mhm.
And that's kind of the essence of this whole policy, is to make sure that districts do participate in it. And it's quite a process to try not to do it. So at this point, you know, it's something that we are participating in. We budgeted for, I think it, instead of maybe around $70,000, $80,000, $90,000 we would get each year, I think we're down to 15, 20,000. So it was a significant change. Again, it's all budgeted. And we'll continue to look forward to see, but the amount of tracking and, you know, labor behind it in terms of reimbursement, you know, we're getting to the point where does it cost us money to manage the program just to get the reimbursement? And we'll take a look at it. And again, if we're required to do this, and we have to do it, then we have to do it. And, you know, if we can't opt out of it or whatever, but you know, this is the policy change to adapt to all the new changes.
I was thinking that this would be a good discussion for our curriculum and people personnel services sometime in the future, like to review the, you know, before the changes, after the changes, and collect some data on that. I thought it would be appropriate for that.
Yeah, and Miss Rorella always comes to our meetings, and her team can certainly kind of give you an update as to, you know, I always call it the boots on the ground, right? The boots on the ground perspective of, you know, the semi reimbursements and things.
Yeah, because you know, it has gone down a lot now that the IEP meetings, you can't log them anymore. So, and I'll just, for the public who doesn't know, like usually you have an IEP meeting once a year, sometimes more, depending. And evaluations are usually done every 3 years. So now you can only bill for evaluations and not these annual IEP meetings. So of course, you're going to start to see less reimbursement coming back from the state under this program. So, all right. So the next one, budget preparation, mandated, policy 6220, and the regulation guide 6220 is recommended. So let's start with the policy. It's just some language changes, so to update it according to the revised administrative code. It says the only revisions in the regulation guide are assigning the budget preparation process to the superintendent and the school business administrator / board secretary. The internal budgetary procedures used in the school district are not governed by any statute or administrative code. Therefore, a district may revise these procedures to meet local needs. Policy Guide 6220 is mandated as the QSAC's DPR's fiscal indicators section requires provisions listing the statutory and administrative code requirements of budget development. And the regulation is recommended because it reflects the internal process used to develop the budget.
Yep. I would say the biggest change is right at the end of the policy, end of the regulation. It speaks to, instead of the BA/board secretary being the name there, it's the superintendent and the BA/board secretary.
Yes.
So it really weaves in the superintendent as a part of this process, where it used to just be the BA/board secretary referenced. I would say that's the most significant change, other than the language that they've been changing throughout all these policies.
Okay. Any questions on that? Nope. All right. Next one is board member number and term. This only applies to regional school districts. It's a new policy or bylaw. It's recommended. We are not a regional school district, so I'm assuming this does not apply to us.
Correct.
And you can move forward from this one, correct?
Yep. Correct.
The same one with 0141.4, board member number and term. It's for vocational school districts, which again does not apply to Monroe. Policy 0143, board member election and appointment. So
there's a lot on here.
yeah. So this one we just talked about recently at our special meeting. And now they are revising it to add an optional section that applies to the process in which county vocational school districts, again, that doesn't apply to us, appoint board members to their board in the event of a vacancy. Let's see. For all type 2 districts with an elected board, and regional school district boards bylaw 0143 has been revised to better align with the new code, NJSA 18A12-15, which addresses the rules for filling a vacancy on these types of boards. So it doesn't really affect, and there won't be any changes to our current process.
So, Ms. Alvarez, I'm looking, because I read what the Strauss-Esme alert said, but then I'm looking over the revisions, unless there's things that are bolded that shouldn't be. Because the top of it says applicable for type 2 districts with an elected board and regional school district boards. Wouldn't we be that first one?
Are we considered
Or
a
they
type?
just,
We are a type 2.
Okay.
Yes.
right.
So what it looks like they did in this policy is they retyped it, reorganized it,
Yeah.
all the stuff that has been striked. So like when it speaks to the must be filled within a certain amount of days, that's in the bottom paragraph of that top section, right? Instead of being a separate line lower down there, they put it embedded in the paragraph. So it's almost like they kind of reorganized it. And then the piece that is optional for us is that second set of bold sections that says applicable for county vocational school districts only. That would not be something that applies to us, and or they called it an option, but it doesn't have a check mark like the options usually do.
No.
So it would be something that we would not include in our version.
Okay.
But Ms. Ratner, to your point, the things that were striked, if we go up to the section that's right above it, it looks like I don't even say reorganized. They instead of bullet points or numbers, they've kind of just reworded things, resequenced them. I don't see
So
a
there's
significant. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I was gonna say there's no changes to like the actual process. It's just how they're wording it on the policy.
It's still
Yeah.
65 days.
Yep.
Well,
Okay.
60 days immediately preceding such election. It's still 65 days, but then if there's an election coming up, it says each member so appointed shall serve until the organizational meeting following the next annual election, unless the member is appointed to fill a vacancy occurring within the 60 days immediately preceding such election, if the election is held in April.
Yeah. So here's a thought we could do too, because the board is in the middle of this process.
Yeah.
It might not be a bad idea to say, let's finish the process with what we have. Again, it will be done by the time this is the policy. I'm looking to see, this is a policy. So it is a to read. So to 2 reads would put us in September. So you'll be done with this process or just about done with it, even if we did a 2 read piece. But it might just be the right thing to do here is to sit on this until the current process is done. And then, because you're kind of in the middle of it. And again, that doesn't look like anything changes in here,
No.
but it might be better just for us to finish what we are in the middle of before we tweak, revise, and again, there's nothing significant other than the county vote tech piece.
Yeah.
But that just might be the right thing to do here. You know, and maybe bring this back up in October, right? When the process is done, everything is completed, and then we kind of take another look at it.
Sounds
I
good.
don't know what your thought of is on that.
No, that's I don't want to start changing anything while we're still in the process of filling the vacancy, because it's not a good look, in my opinion. We should just stick with what we have,
No,
what we've
not at
been
all.
doing, and then we'll move
Yeah.
forward after we fill the seat.
I agree. If it was just
Somebody
adding
will
the
think that we're
vocation,
undermining the
Right.
process.
if
Yeah.
it was just
That's a good
adding
idea, but,
vocational, if
yeah, so-
applicable, I'd say let's move forward. But even with language changes, I like the recommendation. Let's just hold off.
Yeah, so how about we put a pin in this one?
Yes.
We'll bring it back in
Yes.
October.
Sounds good. All right, the next one is recommended policy 1636, notification of promotion, new job, and transfer opportunities. Okay, let's see. Policy guide 163601 was written to address NJSA 34-6B23, which requires employers, including boards of education, to make reasonable efforts to announce, post, or otherwise make known opportunities for promotion that are advertised internally within the district or externally on internet-based advertisements, postings, flyers, or other similar advertisements to all current employees in the affected departments of the employer's business prior to making a promotion decision. Policy Guide 163601 outlines the requirements in the statute. It's recommended, as districts are not required to follow the procedure outlined in the statute when hiring for an open or new position. It's recommended.
Yeah, so our practice, we post everything,
Yeah.
literally everything. So, you know, if there's another position that's open, it always gets posted.
This is also sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say there are transfers like third grade teacher to second grade teacher, teacher to teacher, building to building, but you know, step-on guide pieces. And it's not referring to a step-on guide, like everybody kind of moves up the step-on guide and the teacher's guide or the administrative guide. I think this is speaking to different positions, right? Say you had a payroll position and a payroll supervisor. In our operation in here, they are 2 different roles. So if something becomes vacant, it is vacant, posted, and then advertised and hired. So, you know, we have this process in place. It's something we had in place. Maybe there are other places that move people around without advertising or posting but this is you know, when we have open vacancies, no matter what they are, we put them up for posting.
And we're usually ahead of Strauss Esme, so this is another example.
Dr. Lehman, this policy, right? Yeah. It mentions the board shall disclose in each posting that's advertised the hourly wage or salary or arranged. Is that something we do?
So that is new beginning the past couple months, and that is a change in the statute. So that is why probably another reason this is being edited. So that is something we're putting out, and we've started to do that. So it's usually a salary range, right? So like for a teacher salary, it would be the salary range, because again, it would be beginning to top of the guide or whatever the range we put in there. Oftentimes it's the hourly rate now, you know, a contractually agreed upon hourly rate. You know, whatever the pay is, commensurate to the role. Yep, but that is new in terms of putting the specific. It's a requirement now.
Okay.
Dr. Lehman, can I ask a question?
Yes.
I know you have to post. That's always been the thing, you know, you have to post a position. How many times when you post, you know you have an internal candidate? Do you have any guesstimate on that? Whether you have to go out because you don't have the candidate? What's the percentage here?
I think if we're posting a teaching position, right? So that is
Any
posted
positions.
internally and externally, right? If
Right,
we're posting
yes.
like a graduation marshal, that is
Right.
posted internally and we fill it internally, right? So
Right, but I'm saying like more of an administration position.
any vacancy gets posted internally and externally.
Right, but how many times is the internal person always taken, even though somebody externally applies?
There's it. I would say every time we're equal opportunity employers. So
Okay, I just
you
want to
know,
double check.
whenever we interview, it's an open book and an
Okay,
open process. So
okay.
there's not a predetermined, you know,
A predetermined
necessarily.
right
It's
of somebody to move up,
no,
right?
no, nope, no. It's definitely
Okay,
not. It's anything is
just
posted. We're equal opportunity employers, and that's why we post them. So
okay. Thank you.
Okay. The next one, this one is kind of long, so you may need to help us
I
out
can
on
give you.
this one. It's
Which,
policy 2422, statutory curricular requirements.
I can give you the summary.
Okay.
So what happens is we know that our curriculum is driven off of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards, NJSLS.
Mm-hmm.
That is the core driving alignment for our documents. The other
Right.
thing that we're required to weave in there are our statutory requirements. And for example, and this is updating the statutory requirements since the last update. So one of the things particularly that we're required to teach about now is ticks and Lyme's disease. So that is a statutory requirement. So we have that's included in this update, and we as a district, weave it in a lesson here and a unit there, and that's something we've done in the health classes as well as some of the science classes.
Okay.
Another piece is Pacific Islander specific instruction and acknowledging the history and contributions of Pacific Islander and the cultures associated with that. So we've done that through our social studies. So
yes,
those are examples of the things that are since the last update that have to be woven in there. And there are other things that are already statutorily required. So it's like that is the Holocaust education and weaving that into our history and things. So this is an update to all the statutory requirements that have been added since the last update. Does that make sense?
yes, it does make sense. It also says, it talks about a case that's pending right now in the Supreme Court regarding LGBTQ content and letting parents to opt out. And it says, while this case works its way through the federal court system, the Supreme Court ordered the board to notify parents in advance whenever one of the storybooks in question or any other similar book is to be used in the classroom instruction, and to allow parents to have their children excused. So I think we're doing that already because I've seen that on the summer reading list.
Yeah. So
yes.
So we have the summer reading lists out there, and then when we do any of the health instruction or anything related to something that the parents can opt out, that's when we have the notifications go out, or the parents have the ability to choose to have the students participate in an alternate assignment.
And how are they notified? Is it through Genesis, a letter?
Well, it depends on the grade level. Usually we'll use fifth grade for an example when they do the family life unit. The teachers often notify, even at a back to school night, they'll say, this is one of the topics that we're going to be teaching this year. If it's something you'd like to, more information on, you can let us know.
Okay.
And then also we push out a letter before we teach that. And the 3 elementary schools have a consistent message that they push out. So, and that's just an example.
Okay. And so then it also suggests that while this plays out, it is recommended that a district develop a protocol in consultation with the board and board attorney that addresses the Supreme Court's preliminary injunction. Do we have that protocol in place?
So the protocol would be just what we have in place for any parent or student that chooses to opt out of something is we provide them an alternate assignment. Oftentimes in the health class, it's also an alternate location. And again, these are small units and small snippets of time, so it's something that we can adjust to.
I'm only bringing it up because sometimes we've had a couple parents come to the podium about this. So I just want to make sure the public is understanding what's going on and that it's currently being litigated.
Yep.
All right. Let's see. Policy 5117.
Oh, wait.
Oh,
Can I ask?
sorry,
No,
questions, anyone?
it's all right. So it's changing it from the physical education to statutory curricular requirements. I know you mentioned SLS, but this is still exclusive to, like, I don't see like math or science or things of that nature. So it's not all of our curricular requirements, right?
No, because the
No.
curricular requirements are New Jersey Student Learning Standards. These are
Right.
those unique, not unique. These are the legislatively mandated topics to cover,
Okay.
and
So
that's what they're
these are
updating.
the,
Yep.
in addition
If you look at the
to
strikeout, it was
SLS.
previously called the Comprehensive Health and Physical Education.
Right.
So it's just under those two areas.
Right, because but then it mentions that the student learning standards on here.
Mm-hmm.
I guess, is it just saying it's that in addition to the rest of the stuff that's here? Is that
Yes,
what they're doing?
Mm-hmm.
because
Okay.
it's both,
Because then
right?
it
So
lists each of those other things individually, but it doesn't list the student learning standards on there. So I guess that's where I was confused. But that makes more
yeah,
sense then.
so the legislators only have control over the things here, right? These are the
Okay.
legislatively mandated things. The New Jersey Student Learning Standards are on the Department of Education
BOE.
side of things. So that's why they're two different. And the legislators, unless they go through the process, can't change that, the NJLS side of things. And the NJSLS team and that the DOE can't change these things. So they as things change in the legislature, we get new things on this list. And as things
Right.
change on the DOE side, NJSLS, and that those changes are much less frequent, right? You heard us talk
Hmm.
about 1080 curriculum, the 2023 standards, they weren't even approved or passed until last year. So by the time they get approved, they're actually usually a year or two behind what they're actually labeled, right? And the next time they get approved will be years from now. Whereas these are things that happen in much quicker, faster timelines.
Okay. I was just curious why they wouldn't just put then to look at those two things, but I was just confused about the wording because of
Yep.
them removing health and physical education. So I appreciate the clarification. Thank you.
Okay. The next one is Policy and Regulation 5117, Interdistrict Public School Choice. I don't think this applies to us.
Correct.
Correct? Okay. And I believe we have one more left. Policy 5339, Student Sun Protection. It's new and it's mandated.
Yep.
So let's pull this one up. So it says, Student Sun Protection Policy was adopted requiring school districts to develop and adopt a policy concerning a student's use of sunscreen and sun protective clothing while outdoors at school and school-sponsored functions. Strauss Esmea has developed Policy Guide 5339.01 to address the requirements outlined in the law and the considerations listed in the New Jersey Department of Education's broadcast memo released on June 4th, 2025. So there's two optional language sections. The first option addresses the district's right to require written permission from the parent of a student prior to the student carrying or using sunscreen at school or school-sponsored functions. And the second option addresses the district's right to limit the types of sunscreen that are allowed to be carried by students at school or school-sponsored functions. So it seems that we have to make a selection.
Yep. So I reached out and I have a consensus on one part of that and not on the second. So
okay.
The consensus on the first part is we'd still like a process in place to have permission from K-5 families.
Okay.
The elementary, specifically specifically like the K2, K3 families. But because our buildings are K2 and or K3, we're kind of just thinking elementary in general would have a permission piece assigned associated with it. And it's just more of an acknowledgement so parents are in the loop when their kids come in with a bottle of sunscreen or something. Specifically, we're looking at field days and things like that the parents know that they are bringing that in and have that in place. The second piece,
not understanding why this even was this an issue that you can't bring sunscreen in your backpack, that this policy had to be created?
I think at the state level or maybe at some legislative, we've always
I never even
had our
thought twice
parents,
about this. Yeah.
yeah, so we've had our parents put sunscreen on and asked them to put sunscreen on their children before they came to school,
Uh-huh.
right? So I'm sure you've seen those either at a
Yes, I
field
have
trip or
seen
field
those.
day. So it's associated, I think it's in the same kind of, and I was talking with some of the nurses, same kind of ballpark as, you know, cough drops,
Mm-hmm.
some of the over the counter medicines,
Okay.
kind of in that same ballpark. So they made a specific piece to address this, right? Because it's
Got it.
sunscreen. So we want to make sure our students can apply and reapply and or have help doing that. So from our perspective, so far there's a consensus that we at the elementary level want to put something in place so the parents at least acknowledge this is coming through too late for us to put it through the forms we click off at the beginning of the school year.
Right.
But I would envision something like this of, you know, you're okay with, you acknowledge that it's okay for your child to bring in, you know, sunscreen and at times throughout the school year or something like that. So
Okay.
I would envision something in place probably starting next year, because again, we're already in that process now.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll put something in place for this year. The second piece is there is a little discussion about whether aerosol is, yes, it's super easy to put on, right? So we can spray our arms and legs or whatever, and it's not messy and things like that. But there is an aerosol component that does bring into effect some of the other stuff that we have concerns about in terms of allergies and things like that. So we need a little more time to parse that out. There is a preference right now to have suntan lotion as opposed to the aerosol piece, especially with the fragrances associated with it. But I need time to parse that out with the, not time,
Yeah.
just I didn't get it in place for this. Parse out what that may look like.
So should we not put this out for first read?
Correct. Let's
Okay.
table it for first
Let's
read
table it.
until whether it's September or October. I want more input from some of the other nurses.
Okay.
So just so we have some time, and again, not everybody's has been in this summer to get the feedback from, so it would give us time. But moral of the story is we're looking at K-5 for at least a quote unquote permission / acknowledgement from the parents. Once you get to middle school and high school, they're really kind of self-sufficient in terms of putting, you know, being able to manage that and put it on themselves. And then at the other level, what kind of sunscreen are we talking about, right?
Okay.
So we want to make sure we're in the right realm, so we're not having fragrance issues and or aerosol issues that cause other issues. So
Okay, so we're pinning this one, and we were pinning the 0143,
yep.
correct? Okay.
Ms. Alvarez, can I say something?
Yeah, questions or comments?
Yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know, especially your committee, that Middlesex County speaker for September 30th meeting is a gentleman from Strauss Esme.
Hmm.
So if you're interested in coming, it'll be at the Pines Manor in Edison.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, I think, Kate, that would be good for you, Amanda, and this whole committee, because I talked to the president today, and she said he's on board, and they're going to try to limit his speaking because it tends to speak a lot because he's, you know,
Oh, don't you hate people like that?
it really drives me nuts. But I think that should be a good meeting for people on this committee to attend.
What is the date and time again? Just
September 30th,
okay.
Pines Manor in Edison. I think it's 6:00. I don't have the time, but they're normally 6:00.
And it's open to anyone or just board members?
Now, board members can register. You should be getting a pop-up registration to register for it. But I think it would be great for this committee to come and listen to this gentleman. So
I think it's usually, and you, Mr. Payne, you've been involved with the county board more than I, but I think it's usually board members or administrators, right? Like
yes,
who are able to attend.
Yeah, because dinner is provided, so
Right.
they pay for the dinner. So you
Right,
know
and
you're not going to bring your husband and 3 kids because you didn't want to cook that night. So
I don't cook
you know,
anything.
but I mean, but yeah, this committee would be good to come to that meeting.
Mhm.
So,
Okay.
okay.
Any questions, anyone? Dr. Peck?
I would just, Mr. Payne, for that, maybe if you want to pass it along, because I know Ms. Alvarez and I discussed putting our policy wellness check on tonight's agenda, but then with all of the revisions that came from Strauss Esme, we decided it would be better to do that when we don't have as many. But I would really like to know how New Jersey School Board Association and Strauss Esme work together as far as policies, because from what I was told, they're the two policy makers for the state. Like technically, school boards has its own policy manual that you can select. From what I was told, majority use Strauss Esme, but then school boards will also do the review of the Strauss Esme policies.
Kate, great question for that meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
The gentleman's going to be there, and I'm sure he'll answer that question accurately.
All right, I'll see if I can remember it.
You will, you will.
All right.
Also, just as a note, well, I don't know why I keep freezing. I don't know.
Yeah,
if I'm
you're frozen, but I
I'm
could hear
frozen,
you.
like, all the time.
We could hear you
But
though.
we didn't do the one to abolish the record keeping for healthcare settings. I don't think you spoke about
Oh
that one.
yes, the COVID one.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me just read it for the public to know that it's being abolished. Let me just find it. Yes. It's policy 1648.15, record keeping for healthcare settings in school buildings, COVID-19. It was mandated, now it's abolished. You know why. We've gone past the COVID crisis. You know, it's okay now. We don't have to quarantine, so there's no need to keep records about it. Thank you for pointing that out, Dr. Peck.
Mm-hmm.
Can I offer a potential idea for a board goal?
Sure.
So maybe the review of the policy manual and adjusting, tweaking, monitoring, revising, and taking the recommendations from that NJSBA audit could be a board goal.
Mm-hmm.
Just throwing it out there as an idea. The reason I bring that up is, I went through it, and I still have a lot of stuff to kind of dig into. And I did see
There's a lot.
There is. I think
There's a
the
lot.
policy manual is in really good shape from my perspective, because there's nothing I would say that is red alert. And they were sharing that in their kind of overview. But there are a few things, like they said one of the policies missing. I went in there and we actually have it. It was revised in 2008. Again, an old revision date, but
Right.
there is some work to go through to see, just to make sure what they looked at is what we really have. There are some things that we have kind of in the process of being revised that I think kind of weave in here anyways. But I think it would be a nice kind of, like you said, this is a big meeting for us on our normal alert.
Yeah.
It sounds like there's going to be some other alerts, but it'll help fill the gaps. And then, maybe by the springtime. And again, some of these are quick and easy to look at. Some of them are a little bit more complicated, because I think they're talking about, why things are numbered the way they are relative to the way they see it versus the way Strauss Esme sees it. So that involve us kind of getting in sync with Strauss Esme and asking them, because we don't change the numbers of the policies that Strauss Esme gives us, right? Because we're following their kind of process. So we need to engage with them a little bit to see where the discrepancies are. But again, I think overall, when I saw it, there's definitely like a nice alignment to what we do. And considering all the policies we have, there isn't, what I would consider, huge red flags or anything like that. No, I mean, it looks like, their major recommendation was, let's take a look at some of the things that haven't been touched in a while. And let's take a fresh look at it. And again, the reason they haven't been touched in a while is because nothing really has changed, but doesn't mean we shouldn't take a look at it. So
Okay. So
I don't know. That's just a thought for.
Right.
It's
Instead of
just a
doing
thought.
it in one meeting. I like that. I think we can also sort of add into that other elements of our own that like they might not have known. Like, I had shared, I think, with Ms. Alvarez how, the mission statements, like there were schools that, which like no one's ever really going to think of, but there are schools that when they created them didn't exist and now they do. And like Applegarth is still a middle school, which those are things they might not have thought of, right? Or even like, I think it's the executive session right now. We include HIBs in there, which, honestly, I think HIBs would be a great school board training for our board to learn about that just as a side note, because I brought it up. I know that's one of the trainings they'll come to do for board members. But, that I think was added after that revision. So, sort of going through it, maybe we can, to what Dr. Lehman said as a goal, like we can take a couple of the different categories in the table of contents and do it that
Mhm.
way instead of just doing one day with the review.
And I would like to look at some of the older ones that haven't been looked at in a while, because I
Yeah.
don't remember which one, but there was one that it was a oh, this 5440, right? It had been a long time,
Right.
so, and that's taken us a while to go through that. So I
Yeah.
think it would be a good idea to look at some of these older ones.
Mm.
Yep.
Yeah, the Honor Roll National Honor Society one, it wasn't, cohesive with current practice. So it's good to go back and look at these older ones.
Right.
All right. Any other questions, comments? No? All right, so that concludes our meeting
Okay.
this evening. We got through it quicker than I
Hmm.
thought. I thought we were going to need a whole hour, but we did
Good
well.
night, everybody.
Good
Good
night.
night.